Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bringing Academic Excellence to the Classroom by Mastering For-Credit Online Learning. This is a Times Higher Education webinar in partnership with Coursera. My name is Alistair Lawrence. I'm the Head of Branded Content at THE, and I'll be chairing today's discussion. I'm joined by a panel of experts who are Ramya Srinivasan, who is Customer Success Director for Universities at Coursera, Christopher Dennis Katapang, who is Academic Dean and Chief Learning Officer at Lyceum of the Philippines University Laguna, Bambang Secretary Lukiswanto, who is Vice Rector for Academic, Student and Alumni Affairs and Lecturer of Veterinary Clinic and from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine at University Airlangga, Indonesia. There will be an opportunity to put questions to the panel during the final 5 or 10 minutes of the hour that we have scheduled today. So please feel free to write any questions in the box in Zoom and we'll answer as many as possible before the end. There will also be a full recording of this webinar published on the THE website alongside a summary article, should you wish to revisit this discussion or share it with your colleagues. An email of the recording and the article will be sent to you and to everyone who's registered for this event after the discussion. Higher education is evolving to meet the demands of a very dynamic job market. However, despite universities increasingly working towards integrating career-aligned and credit-eligible courses to strengthen their academic excellence and drive graduate employability outcomes, many cultural and strategic challenges persist. Today, we're going to talk about best practices and share insights about how universities can bridge the gap between the classroom and the workforce, the skills gap in particular, by integrating relevant for-credit online courses and also critical skills education into curricula to provide support to both students and teaching staff. So before we start with the main discussion, Rami, I'd like to hand over to you so you can make a short presentation about the work Coursera are doing in this area.
Thanks, Alistair, and good morning, good afternoon to all the attendees of the webinar. Special good afternoon to Professor Bambang and Sir Dennis. It's a pleasure to be on this panel with you. For everyone, I'd like to start us off with a very startling statistic, right? 1,270%. That is the year-on-year enrollment increase that Coursera has seen in our courses on generative AI in the past year. And half of this enrollment growth has come from students in our universities. And therefore, it's really, really important for us to start talking about the details, the best practices that Alistair mentioned on how we can bring this academic excellence into the university by mastering for-credit online learning. And I'm going to share with you a bit about what Coursera does in this space. Coursera partners with hundreds of thousands of universities around the world, but we're not just looking at which course and how many credits. We're taking a step back to see that as university leaders, as you start focusing on building your organization, building the education experience for your students, what are your strategic goals? And how can Coursera partner with you on those 4 key strategic goals that are top of mind for leaders like yourself? For us, these 4 strategic goals are as follows. The first and most important is your goal to strengthen academic excellence. And for us, that takes shape in the form of how can we help you deliver industry-aligned curricula, and how can we invest alongside you in your key asset, which is your faculty, to build their competency, be it in their subject area, be it in their research abilities, or be it in general pedagogical advancements on teaching and learning. The next focus area for us is to drive student employability and placements. Needless to say, our students are coming to our universities to further their goals and their ambitions when it comes to career growth. And as they build their skills profile and they start reaching out to employers, because employers are coming from a skills first hiring requirement, it's important that our students in our universities also have that requisite skills profile. And that comes in by building industry credentials into their skills profile. So that is another focus area for Coursera for Campus. Of course, universities are always focused on building their reputation, building their international ranking, and organizations like THE have this very well-recognized ranking system, and you are constantly striving towards it. And Coursera also likes to support universities as they grow their ranking and brand perception. Last but not the least, every organization looks for growth, be it launching new programs on campus, online, be it increasing enrollments, increasing revenue. We know that you, as higher education systems, want to focus on that, and that is a key target for you. And Coursera for Campus also aligns its offerings and best practices for that. Now, if you look at the next level of detail, right, how is Coursera, for example, helping universities strengthen academic excellence? How is it helping you with that strategic goal? For us, the key operative term here is for credit learning. It's good to have students coming into Coursera directly, taking up online courses and getting those credentials. But not all students have the ability to do that. They may not have the requisite resources or the time to actually come onto Coursera directly and capture those credentials. And therefore, Coursera for Campus partners with universities and say, let us look at your for credit learning experience and let us get embedded into that so that we are able to drive academic excellence. And this means aligning with your learning process, with your teaching process, and your assessment process. When it comes to learning, we ensure that your students have access to that repository of leading industry and academic content from our industry and university partners so that students can learn from that repository while they're taking their degree courses from their university faculty. When it comes to teaching, Coursera is one of that rare brand of online learning providers that focuses on empowering faculty. To us, your faculty are as much an asset for us as they are for you. And therefore, we're constantly looking at what tools can we give your faculty so that they can leverage Coursera better and deliver engaging learning experiences. And of course, no for credit learning is complete without the assessment side of things. And when it comes to assessing the learning that happens on Coursera, we are very, very clearly focused on ensuring that you can verify the learning outcomes and you have confidence in ensuring that that learning has been achieved without jeopardizing the academic integrity. And here is where we have that controversial term of using Gen AI, not for cheating, but to bolster academic integrity. And I'll briefly talk about how we do that. Let's look at an illustration of what this means. This looks nice when it's on a presentation, but what does it actually mean? And we at Coursera do get into those kinds of details, right? Let's take a sample first 2 years from a typical bachelor's program, a technical program in computer science. Students have a few core subjects that they take, and they also have some electives that they take. Now, when it comes to such a program, and here is just a sample of 4 semesters across 2 years, in each of these learnings that the students take for credit, be it a 3 credit course or a 2 units of study course, whatever be your terminology, Coursera can play a role. For example, when it comes to, say, the electronic systems design, it may be a 2 credit paper in the first semester for a student. You can use the Introduction to Electronics course from Coursera and blend it into your paper. If you look at the data structures and algorithms course that is there, you can look at sorry, you can look at courses that come from Coursera and blend it into your course by faculty. In addition, you can also offer standalone courses. You can probably take courses like our Introduction to AI, our machine learning course, and then offer them as electives. In order to make this even clearer, here is a great illustration for you, which is a typical 4 year Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering from a data science specialization. We've been talking about for credit learning and how can you integrate emerging tech courses, multidisciplinary courses, and offer them for credit for up to 20% year on year. That means roughly 8 credits or 8 units of study per year can come from Coursera content. And when you do that, you actually achieve the first 2 goals that we spoke about, which is strengthening academic excellence and improving your students' employability skills. What we have over here is an example of, say, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. And if you have questions, please keep them coming in the Q&A window. As Alistair mentioned, we will take questions separately. So say in year one, students have a basic maths course that they take. That can come from a course that we have. Say students are doing some multidisciplinary course called Communication Skills for Engineers. Coursera has a course from Rice University for it. Students are doing some basic OOPS or object-oriented programming course in the second semester or the second term. And up to 4 credits of that content can come from courses like OOPS with Java, OOPS with PHP, where on Coursera, these courses also come with virtual labs. So there's a good amount of hands-on practice that students can do. For example, let's take years 3 and 4, where students typically go deep dive into their specialization. In this case, it's the data science specialization. Students go deep dive into it and they have to take up electives. Up to three credits worth of electives can come in data visualization courses from Coursera. Up to 6 credits can come from data science fundamentals, project management courses from Coursera, which also come from our industry partners like Google. And in the last year, they go really, really deep dive and look at big data foundations, machine learning with big data, graph analytics with big data. We have courses from the University of California system, from University of Michigan, which can power these credit-based electives for the data science specialization. A similar specialization is also available for MBA, where you can get courses which not only focus on the theory side, like business analytics, but also focus on the hands-on aspect, like ChatGPT in Excel, or visual business analytics with Tableau, HR analytics with Power BI, and so on. So as you can see, we can take this overarching trend we have of embedding industry aligned skills and courses and convert that into an actual curricular structure where term by term, course by course, you can either blend Coursera content into your course or offer an entire elective through Coursera. And we have many such curriculum maps that we work with universities to help them blend this Coursera content into their curricular structure. We also spoke a lot about professional certificates, and we have a good range of professional certificates from our industry partners. We call them the industry micro credentials. Now, when it comes to industry micro credentials, what these basically mean is that there is content that is taught by industry experts, and therefore there is a certain guarantee that this content focuses on those skills that the employers are directly looking for. And therefore, some of our industry certificates or professional certificates can directly be embedded into your degree programs to give students pathways to jobs and degrees. What you see here is an illustration of the kinds of courses we have. It is not a comprehensive list, but as you can see, we have lots of great professional certificates in software, data, and business roles that are being embedded into degree curricula across our partner base. In particular, I'd like to call out these small icons that you see here. One is a light blue one, which is called ACE, and the other is a yellow one, which is called ECTS. What Coursera has done is, in order to make it easier for you to embed these professional certificates into your degree program and offer them for credit, we have now got credit recognition from the American Council for Education for 19 of our professional certificates, and similar credit endorsement from the European Council, the European Credit Transfer System, which is endorsed by FIBA for 12 of our certificates. So what this means is, if suppose you offer a data analytics elective from Coursera, which is based on Google's data analytics professional certificate, any student who completes that certificate can, if they choose to go abroad for further studies, can present that certificate and say, hey, this is an ACE recognized certificate, or this is an ECTS recognized certificate. Can you give me a 2 or a 3 credit waiver in lieu of the certificate that I have completed? So it's actually two birds in one stone. You not only get credit for your current degree, you can also present it when you go for abroad for further studies. And this is also a trend that we're seeing sweeping universities across the world, where industry micro-credentials are embedded into the curriculum. No presentation on higher education and online learning is complete without talking about Gen AI, and I'll just take 2 minutes to quickly skim through it. Gen AI is going to disrupt every occupation, and we've all heard about it. But what I want you all to focus on is this is especially true for educators. When you look at the impact of automation with just AI, not with generative AI, with just AI, we found that for educators, it was around 15% of their job tasks. Throw in generative AI, and we found that 3 times increase from 15 to 54, which means 3 times more job tasks of educators will get impacted because of generative AI. And the way we see it at Coursera is let's flip this. And instead of saying it's going to get completely destroyed, let's talk about how it can completely impact it positively. So, how can we use generative AI to empower the faculty to teach better, to empower the students to learn better? And for that, we have something called Coursera Course Builder, which is generative AI assisted course creation that meets your learning objectives. What Erlanger faculty want to teach in data analytics could be very different from what the Lyceum of the Philippines University at Laguna wants to teach. You may have slightly different curricula and syllabi for your programs. But can you use Coursera as a platform? Can you use Coursera's content and build your own course? So Course Builder allows you to build those courses and assessments on Coursera, include our guest lectures, videos, readings, assignments into your courses, find content based on your particular learning objectives and context, and create custom content. And all of this is guided by Coursera's responsible AI principles. I'd like to reiterate here that anything Coursera does in the generative AI space, we are extremely, extremely mindful of the power of this tool and the fact that there are lots of principles at stake here. And therefore, we ensure that anything we deploy using generative AI is grounded in our principles such as fairness, security, transparency, privacy, etc. So you will be able to deploy Course Builder and save up to, say, 75% of your time to create your own unique online courses that leverages some of this content that I have spoken about, some of our professional certificates, some of these fancy courses that we have for engineering management and so on. And you can build your own course and transform higher education with the power of generative AI and really strengthen your academic excellence. With that, I'll pause and I would love to hear from others on what they think.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ramya. We'll dive straight in. There are a lot of interesting points raised there. So, Dr. Dennis, perhaps we could come to you first, and I'd like to start by asking just how much has this kind of working been embedded at your institution, and are there plans to scale it further?
Well, for LPU Laguna, we attempted to bring the Coursera for credit across all levels of the course from first year to fourth year. We, of course, because this is something rather new in the field of education here in the Philippines, we managed to take it slow in the beginning. And because our engagement with Coursera was like for 3 years, and then we progressed from year 1 to year 2 and added more subjects as the students get the hang of it. And basically, that's how we dealt with it. Of course, with the help of the Coursera team that helped us with the curriculum mapping and all.
And how do you take your faculty with you on that journey so they don't feel overwhelmed by the changes that you're making?
Oh, the faculty members, they're a critical element of the entire process of integrating the 4 credit courses in LPU Laguna. First is because they are the content experts. No one will ever, not even me, can tell which topics are best delivered using 4 credit using Coursera. But this has to be the entire process of integrating Coursera has been a collaborative engagement between me representing the school, of course, our mentors, as we call them here in LPU Laguna, and of course the curricular experts from Coursera. And the product was evidenced by our research that we have accomplished. Because of course here in schools, here in LPU Laguna, whenever we adopt something new, we try as much as possible to measure the value along the way. uh, we call that as a proof of concept. We have to, and we're bound to check whether this initiatives that we have are along what we wanted LPU Laguna to be known for in the higher education sector here in the Philippines.
And how do you create that feedback loop? Is it working at a subject level, at a faculty level, at a student level? I mean, who are the stakeholders in that process?
Yeah, here's what we found. Let me tell you a bit of a story. During the 3 years of using Coursera as part of our curriculum, we took a closer look of how it's been working out. So we started by checking in on our students while they were taking on the courses to see exactly how they were doing and what they actually taught. Then we followed up with them about 4 months after graduation to find out if those Coursera courses made a difference in their jobs and skills. So we're talking about the same cohort here for focus. Now, here's what we found. While they were in or while they were using Coursera, students really appreciated the quality and flexibility of the courses. That's number one. According to them, it allowed them to learn at their own pace and dive into the global resources tailored to their career goals. When we checked back with the alumni a few months after they graduated, their feedback was just as positive. Initially, some were a bit unsure about Coursera, but they soon recognized its value. The practical skills that I can recall that they gained, project management, Excel, these we consider as industry entry level skills. They were a boost. They also noted improvements in soft skills such as communication and time management. Overall, Coursera made a noticeable difference in their professional lives, at least according to what our research has presented.
And just having that feedback and those testimonies, has that allowed you to strengthen the messaging to current students who are passing through, or is that not necessary?
We did. In fact, we leveraged on it. Selling Coursera to the academic community is, again, as I've said, it's a new concept to them. It doesn't happen overnight. So the reception varies depending on where they are at the stage of their curriculum. And I'd like to note that the appreciation of Coursera for credit units is more profound in the levels of higher seniors and then third year, fourth year students. Maybe because they were closing in towards their internship and relatively more mature than the freshies. That is why that also came as part of our findings. But it took a while before the stories went viral. And what's this course? And what are you doing with your device? And then it just it's well accepted eventually.
Yeah, it sounds like you moved to a point of user-led adoption, which is generally the point at which you reach an inflection point and these things start to scale.
Yeah.
Bang Bang, can you describe a little bit about the online learning provision at your institution, whether you are facing certain challenges, whether you have seen certain milestones in the same way that Dr. Dennis is describing?
Yeah, I think so, that we don't have engaged with Coursera, but I think this is very much in line with what we have developed at Erlangga University. That's why I think the will give the access to expertise to our student, and also we have the problem with the curriculum gaps. Between our curriculum and also between the learning outcome and also the need of industry. And I think this is the problem of our the university in Indonesia. But I think our government have some regulation about MBKM, for example, how can give 60 credit for student to choose, and that provides students with the opportunity to sharpen their skill according to their talent and interest by directly entering the world of works, and for example with MSIB internship. And I think the proposition of Coursera is very flexible and very adaptive for development our curriculum, not only in Airlangga University, but I think for the other university in Indonesia, because our problem now, I think, how we can give the menu for our student, the menu for internship, but with not the expensive financial. I think it's the one of the solution.
It's interesting you bring in obviously there's the budgetary side to managing any process that you introduce. You spoke about the addressing the skills gap. Are there particular skills that stand out as being where you need to address them as more pressing need? Is there a particular skill set that's missing, or is it skills education holistically that needs to be evolved?
No, I think because our curriculum normally we redesign our curriculum 4 years after, but the redesign curriculum needs the feedback from stakeholders, and how we must make the student approach near with industry, because if we cannot mix the program, for example, credential micro, for example, also the guest lecturer from industry in our university. I think the gap is still exists, and I think which give the opportunity to our faculty or student to closer with industry, to closer with the stakeholders. I think we can close the gap. We can bridge the curriculum to bridging the gap, our outcome.
Are there particular faculties or particular types of students who are engaging with you more about this challenge, or who are asking for more to be done about this challenge?
Yeah, I think we have a comprehensive university, because we have 187 study program, and we have a health sciences, advances technology sciences, and also lab and humanitarian sciences, etc. And I think for some study program, I think it is challenging to how we can give the competency with this type of the education credentials, etc. Because, for example, from medicine, for dentistry, for veterinary, it's we need the hands-on, we need the skill in life, and I think this is challenging for us if we use the online courses.
Okay, thank you. Ramya, can I just ask you for perhaps sort of the big picture view about this? When we talk about scaling across institutions, do you find in your experience, obviously every institution is different, they have different locations, different cohorts, different subjects in particular that they consider strengths. How do you start that journey of being able to scale an engagement and a change to the way of working like this across your institution? Does it come from faculty advocates, student advocates? Who are the groups that you need to engage with early on to really make a difference?
When we work, Alistair, when we work with universities, be it public, private, large, small, we work with three primary stakeholders. The first, of course, is the leadership. So we would work with Sir Dennis, Professor Bambang, that kind of a profile, to find out what is the overarching goal, right? What is your North Star? Like Professor Bambang mentioned, it is about bridging the gap for particular programs, bridging the gap between what industry requires and what they provide, right? We take those high-level objectives. We then work with the dean academics, the ones who are actually taking these objectives and translating them into the academic credit structure, that map that I showed you, saying 3 credits here, 2 credits there. The people who are actually managing that, the academic council approval processes and so on. And then we also work with the faculty. to the point that Sir Dennis was making, we take the faculty along. So we conduct sessions with them as well. So at all these three primary stakeholders, this is at the time of the solution design. So for example, if we want to embed, let's take a healthcare program that say Ayurlanga has, and we want to give students, say this is like a healthcare adjacent program and there is a nursing program there, and we want to give them some hands-on practice, right? That's what Sir mentioned, and we need to do it at scale. Now, there may not be too many medical healthcare courses which can provide hands-on online, but there might be a few, like there are on Coursera, like the Nursing Students Toolkit, which uses AR, VR technologies to give nursing students some hands-on online. So we then say, okay, if you want to give hands-on practice in nursing, if you want to give entrepreneurship skills in physiotherapy, right? You identify those skilling areas. Then we say these are the courses. So then we work with the Dean of Academics and say which are the credit areas within your curriculum where these courses can fit in. Here is an elective, here is a skill enhancement course, here is a major or a minor track. I know, for example, LPU offers something called a Laurels, which is additional credits that students can get. So we then identify which are those credit vehicles that are aligned with the existing regulation framework like MKBM in Indonesia and fit those courses there. And then we work with faculty to say, hey, this is how we want to help you enhance your curriculum. We do a set of trainings with them. So once we have these three major providers of education roped in, then the students are always ready to take up these courses. You tell them what's in it for me, they will take up these courses, and they are digital natives. They take up the courses pretty easily. So that's been our
And when
strategy throughout.
when you lead with the benefit like that for students, how much of it is based on employability, or how much of it's just them wanting the skill and wanting something that's going to last?
So employability is the one which really drives students, and especially to Sir Dennis's point, if it comes at seniors, their seniors have already seen benefits, then the next batch of students is easier to convince. What we've also seen, and this is the truth, and I will call it out openly, if it's mandated and it's part of the for credit learning, students will take it because they know that once they do it, they will get credits for it. And if they don't do it, they lose out on their credit opportunity. So both of these, both a push and a pull, both work together to scale this, to operate this at scale.
Okay, great. Thank you. I wanted to ask our panelists about that remarkable statistic that Ramya pulled out earlier about the engagement and the increase in intake for AI courses of being over 1,000%. There's obviously a lot of speculation about AI. It's one of those technologies that doesn't move forward in a nice, neat line at a nicely neat pace. It jumps forward in leaps and bounds at very unpredictable moments. And this requires everyone to adjust, students, faculties, industry. Dr. Dennis, how have you managed embedding AI skills into your curricula? Because it's a very challenging process.
Okay. AI, the stand of the school in AI to begin with is that we are more liberal about it, should I say. And you're correct, Alistair, to mention that it's very difficult to plan your way with AI. Just to share a point, I was being asked to think about a roadmap for AI for the school. And typically roadmaps are like 3-year roadmaps. And I was discussing with my colleague here, how do you even map a roadmap for AI for a span of 3 or 5 years when things come out randomly every quarter of the year, if not every month. So this is the real situation that we're dealing with in education, but with regards to AI. And LPU Laguna is embracing that as a fact. So again, in response to your question, Alistair, how do we respond to that? Of course, Coursera is one of the few platforms with access to content, to, should I say, one of the first mover content in terms of AI. And upon my checking recently, it already has developed to becoming more of like a short credential already, or Ramya would have a name for that. So how? We have embedded it as a requirement in some of our courses. We wanted it to be treated as a general science thing. Uh, there are ways to do that, but in LPU Laguna, we're looking at it as a general education item. So that the scope of coverage is more massive, and because AI is, regardless of your discipline, whether you're in business, engineering, health and sciences, everybody will be affected by AI anyway. So it's as massive as that.
And it's so you, in a way, you're talking about the process of continuous improvement that you described earlier. That's just happening at a faster pace because as AI changes, you're having to be more reactive.
Correct.
Okay.
You can see it. You can see it in the way, in all the aspects that Ramya have mentioned, whether it is in the learning process or in the assessment process, or it's just everywhere. Students all of a sudden would have longer essays than before, and you know, at the back of your mind, you know that it's all because of AI, and these things may come to be these things used to be rather unheard of like 2 years ago, but right now, you know, the projection has been insane. Everybody's into it. So as academics, teachers, administrators, who are we to stop it? I mean, it's just natural flow.
Okay, great. Thank you. Dr. Baba, you mentioned earlier about having speakers from industry come in to help students and also, I guess, staff on their way to stay current and to help inform people about what the skills are that they will need to thrive in the modern workforce. AI is disrupting a lot of that. So, I mean, does your engagement with industry speakers give you a different type of update about how AI is changing the world of work?
Yeah, I think so, because until now, I think the industry come with us and to construct the curriculum together and to give the internship to our student. But I think so, which implemented AI implemented, I think we can widen our perspective. We can widen the possibility of our student to contact with many resources, with many experts for that. And AI is, I think, everywhere. We must use in everywhere in on the life, in our life. I think it's must we use AI as the either for us for make all easy than before.
And what are the other benefits that industry speakers bring? Do they help you shape curricula? Do they help you manage students' expectations? What are the main benefits that you see?
Yeah, I think in Erlangga University we have developed many massive open online courses. We make the courses, the curriculum with industry, and also we have the MOC 100 more than 100 MOC, and also I think we develop also the credential micro study integrated internship. That means we give hybrid type of our learning with the student get the online courses, and some student come to industry, and sometimes the leader of industry come to give the courses and practice in our university.
And do you see particular demands from particular sectors? I mean, you were speaking earlier about healthcare being particularly engaged for some of the changes that you're making. Do you find that certain industries are more inclined to come into your universities and speak? Do you find that there is particular demand from students to hear from certain industries?
Yeah, I think it's a very excellent opportunity for a faculty, for our student to can talk and discuss and also more cross with the industry. And some, I think some study program maybe needs the humaniora, needs humanity aspect aside of the hands-on, because I think we cannot replace hands-on humanity aspect with AI. Yeah, I think it's very, very important.
I suppose it's an interesting point because I would say as you shift more and more to digital delivery models, they're very useful for tracking people's progress and giving you hard data about how people are using these platforms. But Ramya, is this something that it's worth reiterating that you need the person-to-person interaction in order to transmute a lot of these ideas and best practice?
Yeah, that's certainly true. And I'd like to speak from a broad-based education delivery perspective, given that we're all in the higher education space here. Coursera for Campus, like I said, firmly believes in engaging with the educators. And we are one of those. If, for example, we're taking generative AI. Instead of saying generative AI is going to replace the teacher, which is the kind of a scaremongering that is happening, we're saying we are going to use generative AI to give the teacher the ability to bring in these industry speakers, Professor Bambang, to your point. So Coursera may have some content where there are industry experts coming in, and they can now use our course builder, which is powered by generative AI in the background, and say that I want these 3 industry speakers and their readings and lectures to be part of my course. So if, for example, an Erlanger faculty who has a MOOC in place wants to infuse industry lectures, it's not something you can, get these people to physically come to campus, but this faculty can be in campus, and this industry speaker can come in from the Coursera industry certificate courses, and they can blend the two. So the best of both worlds, the best of the digital content, which is online in the MOOC, and the best of the faculty who is in person in class. So we definitely go with what Professor is saying in terms of having hybridized programs where you are able to still scale the industry interaction for students, which may or may not be in person, but ensure that there is a human element to the teaching and learning process as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. The other hybridization that we haven't really spoken about so far is the multidisciplinary skills and the access to being able to customize it. Rami, you mentioned at the top of the hour during your presentation about the customization of courses.
Right.
I mean, is this something where are there any particular patterns? I mean, it's a difficult question to answer, but are there any particular patterns in terms of students making choices? Are they gravitating towards certain specialties? Are they picking from a broad base? Is it one of those things that's almost impossible to generalize, or has Coursera seen any trends in the data it's collected?
So I can pull up. There's definitely a clear enrollment trend towards Gen AI courses, that's for sure. But at the same time, in terms of skills, we broadly see a lot of focus on business skills. And then there is, of course, the general focus on data science skills with a particular preference for generative AI today. But we do see a lot of students coming in to take some of our general business courses as well. So, for example, our courses on general project management are very popular. And at the same time, students are also focusing on role-based skilling. So what that means is students are saying that if I want to step into a role like an operations manager or a product marketing manager, for those roles, what are the skills I need? And therefore, what are the courses I need? So more than saying there is a focus particularly on multidisciplinary skills or particularly on data science skills, what we're seeing on the platform is there is a more target role-oriented choice that is happening through Coursera.
Great, thank you.
And that's why industry micro-credentials become more important, because these industry micro-credentials are not based on a course syllabus. They are based on a job role. If you want to be a cybersecurity analyst, what are the courses and what are the tools you need? So that's the overall trend we're seeing.
I see. Thank you. So it's interesting to see how you can map it in one of two ways almost, once to the role and also to the broad base of skills that people want. I mean, entrepreneurship is always an interesting one because it's something that younger generations in particular are being increasingly encouraged to learn as a skill, but this is not an intergenerational skill because it is being advocated in response to what we're told is a lot of volatility and change in the jobs market. Dr. Dennis, when you have a situation like that where you're having to introduce a new concept, or is there is a strong demand for a new concept, how do you embed something like entrepreneurship? I mean, is that even possible, or do you need to look at it more in the context of what jobs people want to do?
Oh, yeah. The thing about um, I'm also the dean of the College of Business, so there's a lot of things going on, and you wanted to introduce a lot of emerging technology, just like what Professor Bambang mentioned a while ago. We spend a lot of hours conversing with the industry on what and validate what really is needed. I would like I believe that schools would always have to respect that considerable amount of lag, that you have to be humble enough to ask the industry what what are the things that we need to be embedded. Uh, that has become part of our DNA because our mission here in LPU Laguna is being industry centric. So the question of how do we embed it? Now it's relatively easier. I will have to say it's relatively easier, not only in terms of entrepreneurship, but rather those those disciplines that are very difficult to deliver because of lack of richness of content. For example, data analytics, business analytics. Uh, uh, my last recall, there's not many books out there, and if there are, I would have to say there are trade books that are very expensive. But these things are now becoming more and more democratized in terms of access to students through portals like Coursera and all the other moves. So relatively, if you tell me, is it easier now? Yes, it could be easier with partners like Coursera. We can actually scale this requirements and look for a perfect match. And if you're lucky, most of the time I am, it can be found. And it's just a matter of linking it with the course intended learning outcomes. And that's another point I would like to raise. That's another point I'd like to raise. It will only be as good, in the eyes of academics and the academic world. All of this technology will only be as good as it supports the intended learning outcomes of the learners. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Is it? Are we successful in making or realizing those outcomes that we want to have out of them? And are these tools making it happen for us? So these are the kind of questions that we ask ourselves whenever we try to embrace platforms and tools like this.
I see. It's an interesting point that with some, I guess it's always been this way to a degree, but some subjects will be more suited to not necessarily the long form format of books because everything is changing so quickly. And then other disciplines you will be able to rely on set text in a slightly different way. We've got about 10 minutes left or so. So there's been a couple of questions from the audience. If there are any others that you would like to put to any of our panelists, if you can just drop them into the Q&A box rather than raising your hand, please, and we'll get through as many of them as we can before the end. Just before we move on to that, Dr. Bamberg, I wanted to ask about the future planning and future proofing of courses like this, because we've heard a lot today about the need for quick change, reactive change, constant change. In what ways can you help set yourself up in an environment where you are using all of these new innovations to support things like lifelong learning and the upskilling and the reskilling that people will continue to need as this level of disruption continues? Dr. Bang Bang, sorry, say.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the important thing how we can make the equilibrium between the stakeholder needs, between the industry needs, with the academic standard, because things we must make the equilibrium between that. How we can must guarantee that the standard of academic is achieved, but the student are ready for a workplace. And I think maybe the evaluation for the implementation of these courses is very, very important, because the condition is changed rapidly. And in Airlangga University, I think we prepare that for our students. We make the carrying out career assessment and counseling, enrichment program for entrepreneurs, and also make the assessment tool for measuring student career interest, and inviting industry practitioner and lecturer to share experience, and also makes the collaborative research and also interdisciplinary program. And I think the implementation of this program, it must be evaluated. It must be guaranteed that this program is work good.
Okay, thank you very much. Ramya, sorry, you'd like to add to that?
Yeah. So I would just like to add on to what both Sir Dennis and Professor Bambang have mentioned, which is what we're seeing when we work with universities is they want to ensure that whatever changes they make to the curriculum are part of that structure, whatever other program learning outcomes or course learning outcomes that have been defined, say for an engineering program, a management program, or a healthcare program, that should stay intact. You can't break that, right? So there are vehicles that are identified within that syllabus or within that curriculum, like skill enhancement courses, introducing practicum components, introducing hybrid internships like Airlangga does, that Professor Bambang mentioned, introducing student-centered activities. And when they create these small vehicles within that credit structure, that together with the skills identified, say you want to give generative AI literacy for all, like LPU Laguna is doing, or you want to give entrepreneurship experiences for all that Airlangga is doing, then you identify the credit bearing vehicles within your curriculum and then plug in Coursera there. You can bring in a 3 credit generative AI elective. You can bring in an entrepreneurship specialization that students complete over 2 terms and so on. So that is the process that can be scaled, and you, by keeping the faculty at the center of it and ensuring that the course learning outcomes, the program learning outcomes stay integral, uh, you can do for credit learning at scale, be it disciplinary, multidisciplinary, or industry aligned.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Dennis, I wanted to ask about something you said earlier where you talked about how the older students were quite often the biggest advocates for embedding this kind of model. As those students enter the workforce and they perhaps become your contacts in industry, do you anticipate your student body evolving over time to enable more upskilling and reskilling? Does it present certain opportunities that you wouldn't have had 5 or 10 years ago in order to stay engaged with your alumni and build relations there and help you increase your links with industry? How are you taking a kind of medium to long-term view of how you engage with your students after they enter the workforce?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Our students, they are very important stakeholders to us. Even if they we become alumni already, and to the extent that we keep in touch with them even after they graduated, because we actually use them as our input to curriculum development as well. At least that's how I will respond to you in terms of how we do it, in terms of processes that we do. Apart from the industry partners that we have, the alumni, they're wonderful inputs to curriculum development, and they're a good validation of whatever we have done in the past. So we keep close connection with them through the years, and in many ways, for the older students, we even invite them to teach, uh, because they would have that pride to go back to their alma mater and become part of the faculty. We all want to fantasize with that. So these are the things that we keep uh, part of our processes to keep them engaged and becoming part of our value chain. I guess, did I answer your question?
Yes, yeah. It's a, like I say, it's a long-term process. I appreciate that these things will change and evolve over time. But Ramya, one question I wanted to ask that was related to that. The institutions that you work with across the region, the ones who are scaling successfully, how much of that is down to community building on their part with alumni, with different stakeholders?
So the most empowering community is the faculty community. When we get our early adopter faculty champions, they are the ones who are able to create the right teaching and learning practices to embed Coursera in a for-credit way. The second one, of course, is the existing students. And then comes the alumni network, because alumni are the ones who, like Sir Dennis mentioned, influence the student choices. So all of these three community matter a lot. But for early success and to prove those early outcomes, it's the faculty community which is the most powerful.
Okay. And if you had any particular advice for universities who are looking to scale in the short term of delivery in terms of who they're engaging with, both um, from the student body in terms of intake and also in terms of stakeholders from industry, what are good first steps to make in order to build upon the foundations they have as an institution?
I think showing outcomes of such interventions is of prime importance. So, if you're able to show that the skills profile of a particular student has become better by XYZ, for example, at Coursera, we have something called a skills development dashboard, which shows how the skills proficiency levels have moved from conversant to intermediate and advanced for that entire cohort. So, showing proof of skills development is a great way to scale a program where you have a smallish program in one or two areas and then you want to take it university wide. Proof of skills development is important. And then, and I keep saying this, the for credit piece, the for credit design piece of embedding these credentials into the curricular structure is the best and the easiest and the most foolproof way of scaling such activities within the university.
Okay, great. It might be a tricky question to answer in the context of what we're talking about for implementing on a institutional level. But one of the questions you've had from the audience is about the registration process for Coursera courses. I mean, in terms of it, is that something that is done by the individual or the institution? I mean, how do people are normally onboarded in these ways?
So the program that I've been talking about both in this panel and with the two leaders here is called Coursera for Campus. So that's like an institution partnership. So Coursera partners with the university to offer this. We of course have our B2C portal where students can come in and register for free and then pay for the certificate. But what we talk about at Coursera for Campus is an institutional partnership where the institution says, I want to offer Coursera for Campus in a for credit mode for 5,000 students or 10,000 students. And that's where then the students start enrolling through that partnership that we have. It's a B2B system. And that's the one where we're seeing a lot of success with student skills development.
Great, thank you for clarifying. We've got a couple of minutes left. Just a final question to the two university panelists about whether the mode of digital delivery is changing your international profile or your international engagement. Are you working with more international students, either through your intake, or are you maybe going to them with digital delivery? Dr. Bambang, is this something that has your international profile changed as the result of shifting a lot of this work online?
Yeah, I think Erlangga is try to increase the collaborations with abroad, and I think so. We have some student inbound, student outbound, and we have some program from, for example, Amerta, the program online. from student abroad to come and also to follow the courses in Airlangga University from 1 semester. And we have some program also to, for example, the research collaborations to meet the professor from abroad, from the university from abroad to come and together bring the research and also bring the community services, because we have also WUACD. WUACD is the Association for University Internationally from Community Services, and with the more than 45 university abroad become the member of that, and we involve the student, we involve the faculty to make the program together. And I think with the platform on Coursera, I think we can more effective, efficient to do our program.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That is all we have time for, I'm afraid. The hour's flown by. Thank you very much to our panelists, Dr. Dennis, Dr. Bambang. It's been really interesting hearing your international perspectives, and also always Saramia, thank you for your support, and all of our partners at Coursera for enabling us to have these discussions. As I mentioned, everyone who's registered for this event will receive a full on-demand version of this webinar, which will be hosted on the THE website, as well as a summary article of its key findings. Please feel free to share the word, spread the word, and if you have any questions for us, you know how to contact us. Thank you all very much for participating. Thank you everyone in the audience for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Goodbye.